Not only do the Red Sox absolutely own the Yankees this season, it's also, I think, time to consider them true buyers at this year's deadline. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. Over this weekend, the Boston Red Sox were able to take 2 out of 3 games from the New York Yankees at home in the Bronx. The Red Sox are now 4-2 against the Yankees this season, and it officially puts their season record at 49-40, 9 games over 500, the highest they've been over 500 this season. It's good still for third place in the division, 7.5 game back, but what we're focusing on right now is the fact that the Red Sox are firmly in a wild card spot, 1.5 games ahead of the Kansas City Royals. And if you take a look at the loss columns here, they are only 3 games behind the New York Yankees, 4.5 if you want to count wins. What I think this series really did for me, and I think a lot of people, is truly solidify the idea that the Red Sox should be buyers at this year's deadline. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to break this series down, talk about why this series was so important, and what it could mean for the future of the 2024 Sox. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so I think the best place to start when talking about why the Red Sox should be buyers and what this series really highlighted is the pitching in this one. Tanner Houck got the ball in game 1, and technically he started this game, although I don't really know if we can consider this a start, considering the Yankees pulled a fast one on the Sox and it gave them a rain delay that threw Tanner off quite a bit, and this final stat line didn't exactly look fantastic. It was 3 1/3 innings, 3 total runs allowed, but only 1 of them earned because of an Emmanuel Valdez error. He also walked a season-high 4 batters. Again, all of this coming basically the second the rain delay ended. I'm not worried at all about Tanner Houck here. I think he's going to be perfectly fine. Our all-star is going to be perfectly fine. Again, I'm blaming the Yankees field crew on that one. They're the ones who started the rain delay and really threw Tanner off, so not really worried about Tanner in this outing. Josh Winkowski got the ball in game 2, and he actually had a very similar outing to Tanner Houck. Unfortunately for him, though, there's not really the excuse of a rain delay. He ended up going 3 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, all of them earned on 2 home runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. Look, I like Wink. I really do, and I like Criswell too, but these guys are maximum 5 and dive players right now that really aren't long-term rotation solutions. The Red Sox bullpen, which we will absolutely get to in a second here, can only bear so much of the weight, and with the rest of the rotation really starting to hit those innings limits from last year and blowing past that and heading into unknown territory right now, you're starting to see cracks in the bullpen. These guys, these 5 and dive players right now in the back end of the rotation might not be what the Red Sox need going forward. And finally, we got Cutter Crawford, who gave one of his best performances of the entire season. He really locked it down for the Red Sox, out-dueling Rookie of the Year favorite Luis Hill for 7 full innings, just 4 hits, 4 Ks, no walks, no runs, and he did it all on just 68 pitches. That is unbelievably impressive from Cutter Crawford. He absolutely showed up in a massive way this series, and honestly, he's been showing up in a massive way this season. I know he had a couple of games where he really sort of blew it up, especially against the Orioles and the Braves, but since then, he now has 4 quality starts in a row, and to get through 7 innings against a Yankee lineup that features Judge, Soto, and others, Ben Rice, who hit 3 home runs in the middle game and absolutely shut them down on less than 70 pitches through 7 innings, is really, really great accomplishment. Cutter looks absolutely fantastic. As for the bullpen, they had some fantastic moments. They had some not so fantastic moments too. The fantastic moments came in the 2 wins when Bailey Horn and Cam Boozer kept the Yankees at bay completely to win that game in the first game. Slayton and Jansen were both absolutely fantastic in this series. They came into 2 huge moments in both games of this series and absolutely shut the Yankees down. There were people in this bullpen that really stepped it up in this series. There were also people in this bullpen that did not. The bad news here is that in the middle game, both Bernardino, Weiser, and Chase Anderson combined for 11 runs on 9 hits. The pitching has been the crutch of this team for the first half of the season, but going into the second half now, we're starting to see where this pitching staff can fall apart a bit. When we're talking about why the Red Sox should be buyers and going into the second half here, it's pretty clear that if the Red Sox don't add to this rotation or this bullpen, things could go fairly south for this Red Sox pitching staff, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The Red Sox pitching staff have put themselves and put this team in a really fantastic position going towards the MLB deadline. To not add to that would be an absolute waste of talent, and on top of that, it would be a total waste of an opportunity. The Red Sox have outperformed everything you've gotten to this point. To not add to this team because you're worried about the financial side of this would be absolutely despicable. Just imagine this series, instead of having Josh Winkowski having to be a starter because you don't want to go out and get somebody, you replace Chase Anderson with Josh Winkowski as a long relief option in the bullpen. I think that if that had happened and the Red Sox got a guy in here who you knew was going to be able to give you another 15, 20 starts to end this season, you're talking about possibly a sweep of the New York Yankees. But because your pitching is overworked right now, you're getting games where they just flat out blow up, and it's not entirely their fault. There are some people in this bullpen right now that could use some time off, that are hitting innings limits. Greg Weiser is a perfect example of this, a guy who really hasn't pitched an entire season in Major League Baseball yet, and you're starting to see the effects of that as he goes through a bit of a tough patch here on the mound. Chase Anderson is another guy. He's getting a little bit beat down right now. Getting a guy in here and really solidifying not only the bullpen but the rotation as well completely changes the dynamic of this team. It just, to me, it feels like an absolute no-brainer looking at what the pitching staff did in this series, especially because you had guys who came into big moments. You could see how this team could be so successful pitching-wise. You just need to give it the right pieces. It feels so clear. It feels like such an obvious path to take, and I would be absolutely stunned if the Boston Red Sox do absolutely nothing to help this pitching staff. But it's not only the pitching side of things that's making me truly believe that the Red Sox should be buyers. So let's talk about the hitting as well. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for taking a second and doing so. Let's get into the hitting side of things. The offense in this series was pretty fantastic, specifically in really clutch situations. We got to start by talking about the godfather of the Bronx, Rafael Devers, who had 3 home runs in this series with 4 RBIs. He continues to absolutely torture the Yankees pitching staff, and it's absolutely incredible to watch. I'm currently battling MLB to be able to use their highlights in these videos, so I don't even know if I can show you this clip, but if I'm going to figure out a way to show you just how far out of the zone Rafael Devers hit and pulled a home run for 423 feet. He's an absolute freak of nature, and he did it both offensively and defensively in this series. Our $300 million man has been playing like a $300 million man this entire season, and this series he really highlighted why he's so important to the Boston Red Sox. But it wasn't only him who had a clutch series home run wise. Don Rafaela is also becoming a certified Yankee killer because he had 2 home runs in this series. The first one, the top of the 10th inning, to solidify the Red Sox comeback win. The other one to give the Red Sox some legitimate insurance coming into the final innings of the final game in this series. I think it might be time to start whispering about Don getting into legitimate Rookie of the Year conversations. Not only has he been absolutely fantastic defensively, but looking at what he's doing offensively right now, in the last month, he is hitting .333 with a .360 on base percentage and a .500 slug. And again, that doesn't even include last night or his defense. He's exploding onto the scene right now. Don Rafaela is becoming one of the more entertaining players to watch on the Boston Red Sox, and he's really starting to solidify a spot for himself in this Red Sox lineup. And speaking of clutch swings and solidifying, Masataka Yoshida may have had the most clutch swing of the entire season so far this year, because in the first game, in the bottom of the 9th inning, a runner on first base, down by 2 with 3 balls and 2 strikes, Masataka Yoshida took a fastball hummed in there by Clay Holmes, basically into the second deck of Yankee Stadium, and sending the Red Sox into extra innings. Look, Masataka Yoshida has had his ups, had his downs this year. He had a pretty quiet series outside of this home run, but this was one of the biggest swings of the season. We absolutely have to highlight that swing, and the only way that that swing happens is because of Dom Smith. Well, Dom Smith and Alex Cora, because Dom had a pinch hit single in that 9th inning, but overall, Dom had a quiet quietly pretty good series. He ended up with a hit in all 3 games, including a double in the finale, and I understand he has had his issues at the plate, but I gotta tell you, he's been pretty productive lately, although, again, I say this every time about Dom Smith, and it's not his fault, but I always just simply imagine what Triston Casas could be doing in that situation, and it hurts just a little bit. I can't wait for Triston Casas to come back. Overall, I simply don't know how an executive of this baseball team looks at this offense and says, yeah, I don't know if they're going to be worth investing in. Rafael Devers is having the best season of his career and one of the best offensive seasons in baseball right now. Jarren Duran is having the best season of his career and one of the best overall seasons in baseball right now. Say Don Rafaela is a Rookie of the Year candidate. You've got position players all over the place making a legitimate, sustainable impact on this Red Sox roster. You've got role players playing their role and playing it well. And on top of that, you've got Triston Casas coming back in the next few weeks. There is a legitimate possibility that this offense just continues to get better. How do you look at this from a front office perspective and think anything other than this is what we have been building towards, now we run, right? This is what the Red Sox have been trying to do for a couple of years now. A sustainable, youth-oriented, controllable lineup that absolutely mashes, and that's what you're getting. That's what the Red Sox are giving you at this point. And to me, looking at what the offense did in this series and really looking at what the offense did over the last month or so since they've been on this hot streak, there's no other option here than, yeah, this is what the Red Sox could possibly be, and this is the type of team you supplement and push towards a playoff spot. Looking at this series as a whole, the wins were so great that it's almost easy to forget that the Red Sox lost by 10 runs in the middle game of this series. You look at what the Red Sox are doing right now. They are 9 games over 500. They are firmly in a wild card spot. They are only a few games behind the scuffling New York Yankees. And I think most importantly right now, looking at who this team is coming in towards the trade deadline, is they are trending in a positive direction. They're looking like they are getting better and better every single night, and that's a big difference between this year and the last couple of years heading towards the Red Sox deadline, because over the last couple of years they've been hot in the first half as well, but they've sort of limped into the trade deadline. This year it feels completely different. It feels like, we've talked about this a ton, the Red Sox have found their identity and they are fully and 100% on board and behind just utilizing and being who they are, and I think that's going to be a hugely important factor as to whether or not the Red Sox can sustain this. I don't know, as a Red Sox fan, how you don't look at this series and get absolutely fired up. Again, it was such great times in the wins that it's so easy to forget that they lost by 10 runs. That's how fun this Red Sox team has been to watch lately. Again, if you are a front office executive, I simply do not know how you look at this team right now, look at what they're doing against some of the most competitive teams in baseball, and say that this is not a playoff team. This is a playoff caliber baseball team, and John Henry, I'm looking at you and I'm talking directly at you. It is time to suck it up and allow Craig Breslow to act like this is a playoff team. It's time to be a legitimate owner of one of the biggest franchises in the entire sport, because if you do not, it is an absolutely despicable waste of not only talent, but an entire fan base's season as well. At this point, if you are not buyers at the deadline, you simply just do not care about this baseball team, and I firmly stand by this. I have been in the belief that the Red Sox could be competitive this entire year, and now they are finally starting to show it. Suck it up and do something about it. But that's just my opinion, so let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about this series? Were you already firmly in the camp of buying? Were you kind of in the camp of selling? Does this series change your mind at all? And what do you think overall about the Red Sox owning the New York Yankees in 2024? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Just helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, you can get these episodes always in podcast form by listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those links will be in the description down below, or you can head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.